Over the years, some of the topics that I covered are hot button topics that really seem to make people angry, usually out of an emotional reaction stance and not on the basis of any evidence or knowledge of the topics. One of those topics that's really enraged people was discussing the way that members of the church, the hierarchy, and not just Orthodoxy, but other denominations, other groups, the way that the power structure has moved in to co-opt and compromise and control a lot of those sectors, a lot of those bishops, a lot of those synods. And the way that they do that is very transparent. It's not actually a secret. It's not hidden. It's typically done through money, through certain people being in key positions that become kind of moles or are controlled persons by the establishment. And by the establishment, I mean the CIA, the State Department, foundations, think tanks, NGOs, and basically big donors who are able to control whether it's religious institutions, universities, colleges, whether it's seminaries, that they can control through the funding. That's the main central way that this is done. But they also train and arm, you could say, change agents to go into these institutions, churches, and so forth, to try to push a pretty consistent agenda. They don't always push it all in its most extreme forms right away. They typically push things in a gradual, slow kill, Fabian style, where you just kind of do a little bit and then you push the bar a little bit further, and if there's reaction, you take a step back, but you're always constantly moving the goalposts and doing a kind of an Overton window move. And I'm glad to see the American Conservative, it's a pretty well-known site, putting up stuff that is no longer controversial. It's pretty, I guess it's still controversial, but no longer in the fringe sphere. I can't be called crazy and derided and called all kinds of names, as people within the Orthodox world and the religious world in general have done for a long time. I was discussing these topics 10, 12, even 15 years ago. I certainly didn't know as much then as I know now, having gotten a lot more academic about this topic and this question. So it's nice to see websites like the American Conservative now openly talking about stuff that I talked about a long time ago that was, again, very controversial. And this is an article by a guy named Michael Davis. And he talks about how we all know, kind of in the Cold War era, that the Moscow Patriarchate was very close to the Kremlin. However, it's now pretty well known, as we've discussed, via the declassified Cold War era stuff with right after the creation of the OSS, the Patriarch of Constantinople was basically told that the OSS, if you don't know, is the predecessor to the CIA, that you're going to do what we say. And he basically says, absolutely, totally acquiesce, I'll do what you say. And this shows, and this is, by the way, not the first time that there was a close connection between the intelligence apparatus, really the shadow government, or the operatives that work for the shadow government. And we're going to see in today's discussion, in this brief video, both in the religious world and in the political world, the exact same pattern. And the reason I'm talking about this is that this is total vindication. This is total vindication for everything that I've talked about for so many years, that so many people got so mad at me about and raged about and sought in every single way to have me deplatformed, to try to get me excommunicated from various churches and so forth, because I talked about this. And now it's out there in the public domain. Now it's everywhere on Twitter. Now I was just on the Duran, giant geopolitical podcast. We're talking about the stuff that for so long was suppressed and people were told to avoid. I was told by many people, many of these clerics are after you. They don't like you. I'm a bad person. Why? Well, because he debates people. Right? That's pretty much the worst that they could say. But this article, it basically says what we've been talking about for so long, that going back to the Cold War, there was this alliance. These power structure individuals made these alliances to try to make sure that the religious domain would be a form of soft power. Soft power was a way to project American power through means other than kinetic warfare or military. So it's a way to project power through religious ideology, through pop culture, the arts, and so forth. And this talks about how Athenagoras was in this position. He was not merely an Americanist, he was also a renovationist, a liberal, quote-unquote, Orthodox person. He's the one that famously met with Paul VI in 1964. And according to Paul Williams in his magisterial Gladio text, that study from an academic points out that Paul VI was also aided by the CIA to make sure during the Cold War that that would be the CIA's man in Rome, that he would be the Pope. They actually helped in that election, in that conclave. That had to do with a lot of Cold War machinations and the concerns that the CIA had with John the 23rd, that he was the pink Pope. He was too soft on communism, and so they wanted to make sure that they had somebody fully on board with the CIA's plan during the Cold War. The article goes on to say that this gesture sparked outrage in the Orthodox world because Athenagoras was really doing what the CIA wanted in this action. And this demonstrates something I've said for a long time, which is that ecumenism is actually an intelligence-promoted operation. It actually has a lot of origins in the CIA. When we covered Michael Graziano's historical text, it's not a conspiracy text, it's an academic text about the relationship between the CIA and the world of religion. He notes many times over that ecumenism was very amenable to the OSS and CIA's goals all over, because it would allow the deep state shadow establishment to really run the religious world from the background. And that was part of the reason why it was necessary to get so many of the churches and the church leaders on board with the ecumenist project. The current patriarch, Bartholomew, is cut of the same cloth as Athenagoras, very close to Pope Francis. They both share a passion for open borders, mass immigration, and environmental, World Economic Forum, climate activism. This goes on to talk about who that is, who the ecumenical patriarch is, the relationship to the other churches and patriarchates. And it notes that Elpidophoros, who many think will possibly be the next ecumenical patriarchate, he's much more radical in his views even than Bartholomew in terms of Skittles types of topics. That's been a big controversy. And to add fuel to that fire, we have this individual who sort of runs point for the Greeks and the Greek Orthodox establishment. I'm going to go to that. Turns out this individual is running a lot of the Twitter profiles. And this other Greek Orthodox individual here on Twitter has pointed out that the communications director for the GOA is who's actually supposedly blocking, I don't know, I'm just saying that this is what this researcher has noted, blocking all the thousands of people that are getting blocked in the Elpidophoros profile. And that's because this is actually an activist. So we have an activist here who wants to enforce a pro-Skittles Biden agenda. But none of this is surprising because this has been going on for a long time. And of course, we know that the CIA, the State Department, had a key role in splitting the church in the Ukraine, which we've talked about for many years. Going back some 6-7 years, I've done podcasts on this now. And this has to do with geopolitics. And so basically all of the stuff that I've been talking about for so long is fully vindicated here, because you have essentially the Patriarch of Constantinople affirming and going against what he previously said, that the only canonical church in the Ukraine is the canonical Orthodox Church Metropolitan Onufri. He then reversed that because of what the CIA and the State Department told him to do. And this even goes into the money given to the Patriarchate, allegedly. This goes into the push to get the other patriarchates to flip. It even brings in Rod Dreher, who has said bad things about people in our sphere, in our circles. The ortho bros are the worst people on the internet. No, actually, these are the worst people on the internet, not guys who want to debate. So maybe, hopefully, Rod Dreher can reverse his stance. But this is really just vindication for everything that I've been saying. And it shows you that I'm not the villain that a lot of these people made me out to be, and all the awful things they've said about me over the years. These are the actual villains. And this is why they were saying all this bad stuff about me, is because what the American conservatives talking about, we did podcasts and articles on that 7-8 years ago. Now, to make common themes here with the political sphere and the religious sphere, you'll note that the exact same coup and control structure that's going on, that's doing this control in the religious world, it's the exact same in the political world, because it just came out that all of the analysis that we had of the Trump era, whatever you think of Trump, the analysis, according to James here in the videos that he did, have demonstrated that that's exactly the way they were controlling and wiretapping and surveilling the Don. And this has come out with this recent, very revealing video. It turns out that these people were, in fact, working in the intelligence structure as we assumed and as we said. And so you have this video that basically says there was this guy caught on tape, this CIA operative here running these various cyber teams and systems to spy on Trump, to withhold information and so forth, which, as I understand, at least in the video, the allegations are those are criminal offenses. This shows that the president is really an office that, it's not that the president has no power, but that power can be very clearly managed and controlled by the shadow security state apparatus, which is not really, I mean, you could say in a sense it's government, but it's so tightly bound to the private military-industrial complex that essentially these things are identical. And this shows that whatever you think of Trump, this is how they were controlling and managing that presidency to make sure that he didn't have accurate information and that they could try to find anything they could to tie him to the so-called collusion. I want to remind you, too, that we will be live in Vegas. If you head on over to my Twitter, you'll find the links there in the post at the very top. In the Transhumanist post, you click on over to Eventbrite, and you'll see the link that you get here to our live event. Jamie Kennedy, Jamie Hanshaw, Isaac Weishaupt, and also Jim Bob will be joining us as well. He will be present. He'll be on a panel with me. He's not doing a presentation, but he will have his merch there, so you can come and see Jim Bob as well, from Made by Jim Bob, and all of his comedy that he does, as well as his cartoons. This will be a 6-hour event. We did 2 events in LA that were such a blast. We're going to have Isaac Weishaupt present. We're going to have me there. Jamie Kennedy doing stand-up. I'll be talking on geopolitics and espionage in a very in-depth lecture. Jamie will be discussing witchcraft and occult Hollywood. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. Head on over here to the Eventbrite link. The link will also be here below in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube or on any of the other platforms like Rockfin. And also want to remind you to head on over to chalk.com, because this is an extremely important message that you need to hear.
I want to show off something that we're all proud of. I got a browser here. This is Jay Dyer's Much. I want to show off something that we're all proud of. I got a browser here. This is...
Well, that's the wrong message. This message.
I'm going to put you on something crazy real quick. Most of these Zoomer gym bros are consuming macro-guzzling synthetic dyes and synthetic sweeteners on the daily. They don't even know it. Goofy AF. There's nothing great about that. Do not listen any further unless you are an alpha or sigma male. This is important and there could be consequences. There's a new certified sigma male pre-workout powder for sigmas only. It is guaranteed to empower you to dominate your co-workers, fire your boss, aggressively gamble, or invade a small village. Chad Mode stands out from the crowd by excluding artificial flavors, preservatives, sweeteners, and dyes. We've even avoided so-called natural flavors, which are actually not natural at all, ensuring a clean and effective formula. Experience the pure goodness of Chad Mode, colored with organic blue spirulina extract, organic lemon, cherry, and organic maple crystals. Forget synthetic caffeine made in a sketchy Chinese lab. Embrace the natural power of organic green coffee bean extract, which will get your mind going and pump you up to the max. Chad Mode is made in America with all clean ingredients, the first clean pre-workout of its kind. Why are these people adding synthetic sweeteners to every single pre-workout when there are many studied downsides to consuming nasty fake sucralose? Each dose of Chad Mode contains the kick of a cup and a half of coffee, delivering a surge of energy alongside essential vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and herbal extracts. Chad Mode will allow you to fire your boss and dominate anyone who opposes you. Chad Mode will make you more dominant in your daily life.